We're going to talk about the meaning of surrender. I mean, I was blown away by this vlog, and as per usual, we're going to compare Matias De Stefano's blog on surrender to the Law of One Tarot. So this blog, as many of Matias De Stefano's blogs do, has changed my perception of what surrender means completely. And we are going to be comparing today's vlog. We are going to be comparing. Oh, by the way, if you want to work on the Law of One Tarot, you can purchase my workbook 1. It's on Amazon. And what I've done is I've actually put workbook 1 and workbook 2 as a bonus on Amazon. I can't remember what the price is, but I think it's pretty good. I'm pretty sure. So, but I haven't fixed the copy for that yet. So when you see, it's going to say workbook 1 on Amazon, but it is workbook 1 and 2. I just haven't gone in and, fix the copy. So here we are. So let's talk about surrender. This is very, very cool. And I hope it helps you as much as it helped me. So we're not going to start from the beginning of the blog, blog. We'll start from here. So the I says, so what does it mean? What does surrender mean? The I am says performance. The me says the result of a job done. So he's describing what performance is. The result of a job done, how much a job has yielded, the hours and effort put into achieving a product or result. So that's performance. The soy says yield comes from the same root as surrender. Surrender. In English, you may know it as the verb render, which means to make, to produce something. To render something is to put it together, to produce it. The word surrender comes from the Latin redere, to return, or surredere, to return below. So to return below. The Latin word to return to, dare, to give, and sub, under, to return to give, under, speaks of a subjugated return, an implicit return. Okay. Performance is the instrument that has been returned. It is what has been achieved, what returns to you for your actions and tasks. So, what this is basically saying, that surrender is when you render back what you've given. So whatever actions and tasks that you've done, the performance that you have put out in your life, when you're surrendering, you're letting go to then receive the returns of your actions and tasks. This actually makes a lot of sense when you look at the card, which I believe, and if you think any other card represents surrender to you, please let me know. I believe that the significator, the body complex of the significator, which is the Hanged Man, I believe this is the surrender card. But now it makes so much sense. So if surrender is when you're rendering back the actions that you've put out already, so the service that you've performed, now it's coming back to you, maybe tenfold, maybe 20-fold, maybe 1,000,000-fold. Now it makes sense why surrender isn't losing anything. Surrender is gaining back your karma almost. And the reason I'm saying that is because he is totally surrendered and he's surrounded by all these grapes. Grapes are abundance. Grapes are energizing. And his feet, his one foot is towards the heavens, the bottom of his foot. And the other one is this way. So to me, what this represents, and I'm actually just thinking of it now as we're talking together, I've never seen it like this. Could this possibly be, when you surrender, could this fucking possibly be space and time? that you're actually letting go of space and time. I don't know if space goes straight and time is, I don't know if this is space and this is time, but I know space and time interject like this. I know that for sure. The space and time work together. That's how we receive our karma. This space gives it back to us. Time is here. Time is the experience. So time is the one that creates patterns. And the heavier that your thinking pattern is towards an object, this time is going to, this space, so whether it goes straight or this way, I don't know. If you know, please comment below. But space and time, one line is vertical, they're vertical and horizontal. So space, the matter is created through the twisting of your patterns, your thought patterns through time. That's how you get back. So whatever thought for you is heavier, that's what you're going to manifest. That's what you're going to materialize. But here, the significator is the unity of space and time. This is where there is no longer time and space, and a unity of time and space is felt. Because, and that unity, I'll tell you right now, comes from all different perspectives. A unity of time and space can only be felt through the significator when you are able in the 3D to see many, many different perspectives. Okay, so going back to this hangman, this completely makes sense. So if this is an act of surrender, and surrender is actually you rendering back whatever actions you've put out, and now it's time for you to just rest and render. That's why there's like all the grapes around here, like I said, and maybe this is time and space. Maybe the way his legs are positioned in this is time and space. Maybe this is the unity of time and space, because look at his hands. His hands are in prayer position facing Mother Earth. Maybe that's the unity that his hands are representing of time and space that his legs are representing. Oh, I love doing this. I love this so much. I love it. Okay, let's read on. Likewise, surrender talks about the action of returning what was given. Surrender then defines the act of an individual to return to himself without imposing his force towards the external. What's the hangman doing? How can you possibly, when you're in a hang position like this, exert any sort of external force? There's no warrior in this dude. He ain't fighting nothing or nobody. So the act of surrender would be returning to myself, to what I surrendered myself without fighting with the world to expand. Would surrendering be contracting? It would be surrender, whose twin word, etymologically speaking, is integrate. Surrender, whose English parallel would be to submit, get under. Hangman is the Spanishism of the word integrase, directly from Latin. When you surrender, you integrate, you stop looking outside, clinging to the external agents, fighting against windmills, to return to yourself, to the center, to the one that you are, and give to yourself what you previously have given to others. Surrender is the most conductive act of integration to be able to float in eternity. Holy shit. Look at, there's surrender. What's the body complex of transformation? It's the death card. So this is fifth dimension. Sixth dimension is the death card. God damn. Oh, sorry. I shouldn't have said that. Sorry. Wow. Surrendering is the most conductive act of integration to be able to float in eternity. In what way? Clinging to life, physical survival has been your first fight, and that's okay. It's natural, necessary, a logical and biological process. Do the impossible to stay here as long as possible. Then, once survival is assured, the search for the transcendence begins, to be remembered, respected, loved, and the attachments of the soul to bonds, emotions, and feelings begin. So the attachment to the soul reminds me right here, the devil, the spirit complex of the matrix. So you have to go through the matrix, the potentiator, the catalyst, the experience to finally get to unity of time and space and to surrender. And this surrender, which is getting back what you've given, once you've given it through your feelings. So the whole catalyst here, 3D, the whole point of this is to experience our senses, the 5 senses that we have. Once you experience the 5 and realize, this isn't getting me nowhere, I've been pushing and pulling and looking externally. Once you get there and you begin to realize your heart, this Leo card, right? You begin to realize how big and expand your heart, and you realize love, and that this surrender brings you back to the matrix of the spirit complex. It gives you a different perspective, like we talked about. So then, once survival is assured, the search for transcendence begins, to be remembered, respected, loved, and the attachments of the souls to bonds, emotions, and feelings begin. And finally, you seek enlightenment, ascension to the infinite, which is found in the mind, the idea, the dream, the philosophy, and you hold on to what you believe, to what you perceive. That's right here. That's the Hierophant. You begin to, so the significator of the mind complex is the Hierophant. This Hierophant is the teacher-learner. The learner-teacher in this Hierophant is, if you can, imagine one eyeball looking this way. Oh, you can't see my hand, sorry. Imagine one eyeball here, right, looking this way. This Hierophant sees all different perspectives, you see? So these guys still have attachment, right? This soul here, the spirit complex of the matrix, it loses itself when it comes down to, that's the promise. The promise of this soul complex is, this is the lesson. These are the experiences I want to learn. These are the bigger lessons that I want to experience. But within these lessons, what happens, because 3D is heavy, the spirit complex goes to sleep almost. I mean, it doesn't, but you know what I mean? That's what this bondage is. But as you begin to wake up through your organs and through your body, you begin to help this spirit complex remember again. That remembrance will bring us back eventually. It takes, I don't know, it might not take you a long time, it took me forever, will bring you to this significant self where you now no longer just see one or two perspectives through this catalyst experience, which is potentiated through the subconscious mind, and the matrix kind of holds it all together. But this matrix starts to loosen up in your chakras. This matrix is built in your chakras. So the matrix starts to loosen up, and you actually begin to, there's room now to form energy. See these boxes? So if you can visualize in your chakras, like pretend, let's say you have like a box in each chakra, and that box is multiplied and multiplied and multiplied, and it becomes looks like so many different shapes. These shapes are the ones, let's say it's the flower of life. It's supposed to look like the flower of life, but that's where the manifestation occurs, through the geometry. But what happens when you're first in your lower mind, your organs aren't awake? The spirit complex isn't awake. It's going through all these trials and tribulations, right? So we have the devil card for the spirit of the matrix. We have the tower for the potentiator. We do have the faith card in catalyst. That's the number one thing in the beginning in your spiritual journey. I bet you, if you're here watching this, you all had faith in something larger than yourself. You had faith. You knew. But then also in the heart, the experience, the fourth density or dimension, you've got the moon card. But then that faith, it's like, oh my gosh, the yin yang, the alpha omega, you begin to doubt. That's what the moon does. The moon is going to pull on the water in your body, the subconscious mind, and it's going to create doubt and confusion. That is the whole process of getting to fifth dimension, because fifth dimension is where there is no confusion. See, the enemy here, there's no such thing as enemy, you know what I mean? Like, it's all a learning experience. But what is very difficult in the experience is when confusion is created through the potentiator and the catalyst. That is the hard part of getting over your own perceptions when you fall into confusion, which distorts your perception, usually to a lower vibration, even more. The reason that happens is because your brain is just the way the brain is organized. It always wants to give you straight answers, logistics. It wants to give you a system. It needs to know. But guess what? The why that you ask and the what for that you ask in these two densities, it's very, very important. The why is asked here. The why is what will get you out of confusion and the lower vibration, and the what for as well. When you ask the why and the what for, the reason these two why and what fors will get you out of confusion is because it gives you more perspective. It gives you different angles of light. You're not just stuck in one frame of mind. And those different angles, many, you're going to see when you ask through unity of time and space here, this dreamland of the significator, when you ask the question, will give you so many different perspectives. It is crazy. And when you get all of those perspectives of what can be done and how it can be done, you will realize, like, the free will that you do have, that you are God. You can create any one of these perspectives. That will take us, the spirit complex, it takes the spirit complex right into the sun card, because now the spirit is growing, it's learning, it's that journey right here. It's going through this journey and it's getting to the point of choosing the perspective that it wants to choose through love for self. And finally, you seek enlightenment, ascension to the infinite, which is found in the mind, the idea, the dream, the philosophy, and you hold on to what you believe, to what you perceive. These three attachments became the pillars of your existence, the human key that is expansion, moving forward, finding utopia, escaping the existential void. Then you cling to them as the only anchors of personality. Your attitudes, emotions, and beliefs become part of what you give of yourself to the world, to the family of what you give, and therefore you will defend it to death with fists and teeth, fighting against everything that goes against you of these three manifestations of your being. What's it talking about here? I'm confused. And finally, you seek enlightenment, ascension to the infinite, which is found in the mind. The mind, the idea, the dream, the philosophy, and you hold on to what you believe, to what you perceive. Okay, so the three attachments, maybe it's talking about the mind, the idea, and the dream. These three attachments become the pillars of your existence. The human key, that is expansion. The human key, that is expansion, moving forward, finding utopia, escaping the existential void. Then you cling to them, then we cling to them as the only anchors of your personality. So remember we talked about personality, what? So, okay, let me just give you a recap here. All of this, the Law of One Tarot, these cards, I don't have the Fool card in here, and I keep saying, it's not a Fool card actually, I feel like that's disrespecting that card. It's called the Choice card. So the thing is, all of these are archetypes, okay? So the star systems, the 12 archetypes, we have the planets, they have their own archetypes. Those are energies that sway this earthly experience. They give us catalyst, right? So let me give you an example. And I've said this so many times, I've only mainly, and like 90% of the time, I only really watch Matias De Stefano. And the reason I do that is because I resonate. When he talks about stuff, I think about the Law of One Tarot, and I'm like, that's what that is. It just really resonates with me. So most of the information that resonates with me, and I talk to you guys, it's because it resonates with me, and I can apply it to the Law of One Tarot. And now I forget what I was going to say, which kind of sucks. Oh yeah. Okay. So we're talking about archetypes. All right. So these spiritual pathways are for us to get over our own personality. The heaviest attributes that you're going to carry is going to be based on your birth chart. All right. So it's really important to kind of get to know your birth chart and which planets are where and why. Now, with that said, what that does is that gives you your prominent attributes. So for me, I'm a Cancer. In sidereal astrology, though, I'm a Gemini. The sun is in my Gemini, but in tropical, I'm a Cancer. So let's just say I'm a Cancer. So one of my biggest, hardest things to do was to get rid of my attachment to the personality and attributes that star system up there that I was born under shines bright on me with. And one of those energies was this like loyalty energy, this warrior energy. And my main archetype, even though I'm born in Cancer, my main archetype that I had to get rid of was the warrior archetype. So all my life I have fought for everything. When people have said something to me, I don't agree with something, I always have a stance and an opinion. If I see harm being done to somebody else, I will stick up for them. Now, I didn't realize this until recently, that I thought, and what I was doing was I was really working on bringing balance to, right here, the body complex of the matrix, bringing balance to my Cancer archetype. And when I started bringing balance, I feel pretty good about it. When I started bringing balance to that, I started learning how to utilize different archetypes. So for example, let's use Scorpio. Let's use the Death card. One thing that Scorpios love to do is they really go like deep and under and talk about like the crux of things. I started to learn where to apply a Scorpio card right here through my vlogs. The reason I feel like I can explain what Matias De Stefano talks about in his blogs and apply it to the Law of One Tarot is because I started using the archetype of the Scorpion the death card, I started releasing any judgment I had in this time and space, this catalyst and experience. Space is catalyst, time. And I started bringing that time and space to unity. And when I brought that time and space to unity, when I would read Matias De Stefano's vlogs, I started looking at the vlogs in so many different perspectives. And one of the main perspectives, because I love the Law of One Tarot, this was one of the main perspectives that I looked, and it also gave me it gave me a tool of how to understand it better. So I started applying it to the Law of One Tarot. So this application was because I was able to bring my main archetype to the middle and start utilizing the other archetypes, the other planets. Like, for example, right now I'm really honing in to the energy of Saturn. And I feel like the number 666 is Saturn, but I'm really honing into the energy of Saturn in order to experience more expansion on the things that I want. Now, why would I utilize Saturn? Because Saturn has taught me so many lessons, and it was a hard road to get where I'm at. But then once the lessons are, not all lessons are going to be learned, you're here to experience, right? I'm always open to this. I always want to be transforming right here, the transformation of my thought, and grow my spirit and expand. So lately I've just been bringing in the archetype of Saturn, but not the heavier one that's always teaching lessons. I've brought that to a balance to where, okay, so this lesson I understand now in my life, in the next part of my life, I am actually looking for security. I've never been secure. I've never felt safe in my life, because guess what? A warrior is always out to war. Always. So what I had to do, and what I'm doing now, is really coming and bringing Saturn into balance, the archetype of Saturn into balance within my own scales, within my beginning and end, alpha and omega, the yin and yang, my chakras. I'm bringing it all into balance, and I'm doing it with absolute faith and trust that, okay, we now are the warrior is great. You've got to have a little bit of all the archetypes within you, but now it is really time to embrace this here, the significator. It is time to play out the archetype of the sun card in the spirit complex, the archetype of surrender in the body complex, and the archetype of the Hierophant in the mind complex, and move forward. Right now in my will, I only have like my will, like this, that hand motion, like I will something. In my will right now, all I have is one goal, and that is of safety and security within my being. First, it starts from your being, and then it's given to you from the outwards. It's given to you from the outside, but it starts within you. So that is why, if I have been practicing, I don't have to fight for anything. I'm surrendering now. I have given love outwards. I do things out of the goodness of my heart. And when I do have negative thoughts, I embrace it. It's okay. It's not a big deal. When I do have thoughts of fear, I give it love. It's okay, fear. You're fine. You know, I'm starting to put perspective on my emotions. The other way that I started doing that and really have come into this surrender is like feeding my cells. So I visualize my cells. I'm a visualizer, right? That's how I manifest. So lately what I've been doing is I've been visualizing my cells throughout my chakras, because your larger organs are within the chakras. But I visualize cell division, and within the DNA, before the cells dividing in my mind's eye, whatever it is that I want safety and security with, there's many things. I've never had safety and security in my life. I can say I never have. And I put myself into those situations, right? That's part of my learning. That's part of my karma here. So what I did was I visualized these cells when they split. I visualized them splitting into like a safe and secure, creating, like, I put the So through sound vibration, like right now, what you're hearing, if you hear a buzzing sound, I have in the background bees playing, because to me, bees are the ones that manifest. And it's so interesting because my name is Balraj. So Balraj actually means like mighty king. And it's interesting because now I am embracing the king archetype and the queen archetype, because my the yin and yang, Carl Jung calls it, so the anima and the anima and the animus, I brought them to balance, and I truly believe that these scales are that too. So the king archetype and the queen archetype, the animus and the anima of those two, I've been working on bringing them to balance. And I forget what I was talking about. Oh, the cells. So what I'm doing is when I split and I see my DNA in one cell, and it becomes a vesica Pisces, it splits into two cells. I visualize that the DNA is clean and it's got the vibration that I wanted, and this vibration within this cell, and I use this B sound, is one of safety and security. And the second cell, the vesica Pisces that I formed in my body with the cell, the second cell now is even more safe and even more secure. Then I do that with the next cell, and this cell then splits again, and now it's even more safe and secure. So try that. If you like visualization, try it. Yeah, and that only happened once the surrender happened. I'm talking a lot. Sorry, guys. Okay, so your attitudes, emotions, and beliefs become part of what you give to yourself, to the world, to the family, of what you give, and therefore you will defend it to death. That's like the warrior I was talking about, right? So we need to be very aware of your main archetype, and you will most likely be aware of your main archetype once you start studying your actions and you start asking, why did I act that way? Like, what for? What did it really give me? And if it's your ego, it gave you satisfaction because you feel like you got a win over somebody else. Or sometimes, I mean, it is even your ego. If you stick up for someone on the street, do you feel better about it? You should. But is it like really, does it give you meaning and purpose? Should it give you meaning and purpose? Why does it give you meaning and purpose? And what for do you need that feeling for, Seeking to be loved, you will project your emotions to others in the fight to be loved and respected. Just as in the need to know your beliefs as truth, you will fight to make others believe it, to make others submit to your thinking. But you are only doing this to survive, fighting with the environment so that your body can thrive. And in that fight, you spend a lot of energy. You live in the constant fight, moving towards an imaginary destination, wearing out mind, soul, and body. Yeah, I did that for so many years. You're trying not to drown, not to perish. And then you realize that you have been giving your all, that you have given the world more than you can. And you realize that the more effort you made to achieve things, the fewer results you obtained, since you spent most of the time fighting with the environment. Yep. Instead of letting yourself be carried by the current of the nearest shores floating, you decided to spend all your energy swimming towards where you thought dry land was, fighting against eternity, giving your all in the battle is to fulfill what your mind, your soul, and your body ask for. Although, and the me says, the 3 is my personality, a simple atom in the middle of existence. The soy says, then you realize that spending that energy is in an unnecessary moment is your ultimate defeat. I'll give you an example with the sea. If you become a castaway in the middle of the Atlantic and the waves drag you in one direction and you believe that your home is in the other, you will do everything you can to fight and swim towards your home. Imagine that your home is in Argentina and you have been shipwrecked near the Canary Islands. The Caribbean current will drag you north towards Iberia, and you are only 200 kilometers from Tenerife, but you insist on swimming south knowing that your home is there. Without effort, the current will take you 200 kilometers north, and then you touch Tenerife. I think I'm saying it right. And there will be 2 international airports that can take you back. Okay. But you still insist on carrying out the battle. And maybe the battle will be epic, but it will be unnecessary. You have turned the fight into a synonym for honor, for heroism, and you are terrified of surrendering to the current because you believe it is a defeat, a lack of honor. The wars that you have experienced have mostly been unnecessary. Many have died to defend something that, if they had surrendered, they could have transformed it from within without deaths. So he says, should we go on? I don't know how long I've been on for. How long is this vlog? Okay, let's just finish it. So are you saying that most of the wars and battles that awaken so much honor in human memory is in vain? Not in vain, but unnecessary. Ideas, beliefs, emotions, and attitudes sometimes make your lives shorter just because they believe that living longer and finding a more natural way is a sign of weakness. Yeah. And weakness is not failure, but a synonym for inner strength. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Recognizing weakness in the face of life's circumstances opens doors to finding new forces of support that you were unaware of. When you fight against the current, you are more likely to die very soon, abandoning everything you could have done later. If you go with the flow, you'll save yourself the struggle and you'll still be able to get home even faster. Fuck, this is good, man. Going with the flow, letting go, because surrender is when what you've given out is coming back to you. It's when you're re-energizing. It's when you're recharging. I understand then that surrendering brings us closer to the inner goal than fighting with the outside. That's right. And with this, I do not deny the importance of the struggle, something we talk about later. Today's logic is, if it is raining and cold outside, instead of going out in shorts without an umbrella and demonstrating the courage of I can do anything, wouldn't it be easier to put on boots and grab an umbrella so you don't get the flu? The brave struggle that demonstrates power in a minute can detain us for a long time in suffering. Dude, that is so freaking true, because when you're in suffering, you can't see outside of like a narrow perspective, and the narrow perspective is usually of suffering again. And it's so scary to be there because the vibration is so low, you're unable to see different perspectives of what life could be. And then what people often do is they separate themselves more because they don't feel worthy. And what they're doing is they're constantly fighting against the current. They're constantly fighting against flow, what can just flow into you, because they're trembling with fear. Sometimes it's better to dress well according to the weather and not fight unnecessary wars. It seems difficult because we have been taught to fight for what we want in life, to work hard to achieve good performance. Good performance is not achieved in struggle, but in coherence. And coherence is within. And you must give the power to yourself, not to show others that you can, but to yourself. That is, you must give the power to yourself. force yourself again. This is surrender. If I surrender to the ocean, I become a wave. You must learn when you really have to use energy so as not to waste it on windmills. Blessed is he to whom heaven gave a piece of bread without any obligation to thank anyone other than heaven itself. On your knees, surrender to me. I give up. I let myself to the ground as if they were clouds, releasing the weight and gravity to my beliefs, my feelings, and my actions. I let myself be carried away by eternity. That's beautiful. So I listen to what he just said, Kay. I let myself fall to the ground as if they were clouds, releasing the weight and gravity of my beliefs, my feelings, and my actions. That is the triangle. That is how you get to God. 3, 6, and 9. 3, 6, 9, density 3, which is where we're living. 6, which is the pineal. And 9, which is source itself. Surrender, and you surrender, and as you do, as you flow with the current of the eternal ocean, you will remember that you are part of it. You are a part of eternity. You know, it's crazy because when I need to relax, like, it's really funny when I do need to relax, I usually this is for over decades now, I always would visualize myself just floating in the water. And I could see, even now when I close my eyes, I could see like from the sun, you know how when the sun touches the waves and it sparkles, it's just glistening, the water's just glistening, and I'm just floating in the water. I am eternity. I am eternity, and I can only discover it in surrender of my personality. I love this. Giving to myself everything that I gave to the unreal, illusory world. I surrender to my personality. I surrender to my personality. I am eternity, and I can only discover in the surrender of my personality. So remember, the surrender of the personality, it's what surrender is when you let go, but it's so you can receive what you've given out. So what he's given out is, a lot of it is through our personality. And I can only discover it in the surrender of my personality. Giving to myself everything that I gave to the unreal, illusory world. Because you give it through your personality. He who retreats does not flee. The eternal dream is the constant surrender, integration of powers. The Piscean emotion does nothing more than guide human mortality to give everything of itself for others, for the world, to carry out the silent battles of service, to give everything, to give up one's soul for the well-being of one's soul. So that's the archetype of the Pisces. But your own, they are one, they are home. And in the same way that you find yourself swimming between the island and the house, sometimes the opposite direction is the closest path to home. And this is why you need many perspectives. And that's 5D, unity. I serve the entire universe more by giving myself than by giving myself to others. Only in full surrender can you truly do for the world what you hope to do. Be the change you want to see in the world, Gandhi. And to achieve it, you must surrender to the entire world. I surrender, I let go. Surrender, you will be, surrender, and you will be eternal. Amen. God bless you all. Love you guys so much. See you in the next one. Bye.